Hey fellow Noshers, so today is story time again, and if you haven't checked out my first story, which is how the channel got the name The Big Nosher, you got to go back and check that one out, and of course check out all the snack reviews as well. I actually started eating vegan in 1990, and I lost count. It's been about 6 or 7 years on gluten-free. But, so before 1990, I don't want to say anything goes as far as food. I absolutely abhorred something that, in my mind, is definitely a Jewish tradition. Gefilte fish. And if you are not familiar with gefilte fish, go to any grocery store to their kosher section in the aisles, and you'll see this stuff in jars. Some of it's in broth, some of it's in this gelled goo. And I don't even know what to call these things. They're kind of shaped like this, and they're like fish meatballs, for lack of a better way to describe it. And this stuff turned up at every holiday dinner. And the smell is very, very pungent, and I just never liked it. But it was one of those things that would get put on a plate and served to you, and as a kid, eat it. You don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. What? I'm going to hurt Monishevitz's feelings? Okay. And so it's one of those things, we always got it in the jar, and my mom got it in her head that I didn't like gefilte fish because I'd never experienced homemade gefilte fish. And my mother was not actually much of a cook, and she wasn't going to make homemade gefilte fish. But it was getting to the point, I was 9th grade, and my Sunday school, we were going to have it was our confirmation class, and there was going to be this big all day long open house after confirmation, and both sets of grandparents had come in, and my mom, of course she was going to serve gefilte fish, and she said, your grandmother, my mother, had this secret, this great culinary secret where she could make jarred gefilte fish taste just like homemade. My grandmother must have been some miracle worker. Now, mind you, homemade doesn't necessarily mean good. So, and she's going to do this for your confirmation open house. It's going to be so wonderful. You're going to love it. I mean, I guarantee it. So the night before the service is when all this food prep was going on. And this is what I found this great culinary secret was. Hold on. Cut up carrots, celery, and onion. Throw it into the pot of water and put the jarred gefilte fish in with it. That was the big secret. So my grandmother's sitting there and instructing my mother, now put the fish in and let it boil and simmer for however long, and the house started to stink. And finally it was done. And she pulled it out and got it cooled down, and she cut me off a piece. She could not wait. She couldn't wait to have me taste this. It was going to just be epic. I was going to love it. I was going to love gefilte fish, and I kind of metaphorically held my nose and bit into it. And it did not taste any different than if she hadn't gone through this amazing culinary process. It just didn't taste any different. But she's smiling at me, and my grandmother's sitting there smiling, and all I could say was, oh yeah, it's much better. Yeah. And yeah, honestly, I don't think if they'd even started from scratch, if they brought home a carp, yeah, and gone through the whole thing with the whole thing themselves, I wouldn't have liked it any better. It was still gefilte fish. I just don't like it. And please, I was going to say, if you love gefilte fish, that's fine. Go ahead, tell me all about it. Tell me your favorite, if there's a favorite homemade recipe you have. If your grandmother made excellent gefilte fish and you loved it, share that with me. I'd love to know. But, I just started thinking about, it's like I was in a position where I had to lie, you know. I didn't want to hurt my grandmother's feelings, and my mother was so excited about that. I just had to smile and, like I said, be dishonest. And what was really great about becoming vegan was I didn't have to make these gefilte fish excuses anymore, at least. And I'll do a story another time about other foods that created the same situation. But there was one thing I really learned from that whole experience, from that, looking back, once I, like I said, made the switch to eating vegan, was that the 11th commandment is not, thou shalt eat gefilte fish on the holidays. Well, like I said, if you have any stories similar you'd like to share, I love to read them. Leave them in the comments below. And don't forget, there's links for the Big Nosher t-shirts in the description. And I will see you next time.